Hello everyone, this is Ed. This is the second in the series of lip syncing capability for Vixen 3. Um, so in the last video we went over kind of the idea of how lip syncing would work, and we showed how to use the new simple template feature for setting up a display, and then also covered lip sync maps and what they were and how they are used in the program. And then we actually went through and set one of them up to use. And then after we set it up to use, went over the concept of having multiple maps and what a default map was. So we've done quite a bit of setup at this point, and now we're ready to actually start doing some lip sync work on the sequencer. So let's go ahead and start Vixen up. Okay, so let's start off with a new sequence, new time sequence, and this sequence here uses the display elements that we set up in the last video, and then also has the map that we had set up to map all of our phone me's, our voice or mouth sounds into and to how they translate into the elements. So at this point we have everything ready to go. So one way that you can set up a lip sync element is to do it somewhat manually, where you actually place each mouth movement on the sequence one by one. So we've added the ability to do this with this little lip sync basic lighting element here, and you can drag one onto the sequencer here, and it kind of just creates a default element size of about 2 seconds that you can double click on and then actually specify what mouth movement that you want for that particular part of the sequence. And this is one way that you can build a lip sync sequence, but you know, it's, to be honest, it's very tedious, and it's going to be very time consuming to make an element or a whole sequence like this. And this feature will usually, you'll usually use this for some very simple things, or to kind of augment an existing sequence, which we'll get into a little bit later. But as you can see here, we have we can take and drag individual elements to the sequence, and I've created like a new one here called rest, which is, it can be one that you can use whenever, if there's no sounds being played or no speech being said, you can kind of drag this on to have kind of like a default look to your element whenever nothing is playing. But so what I'm doing here is I'm just randomly dragging some elements on here to show you how this works and how we kind of mapped it to our elements. So I've got all these that I've drug on here, and if I just play it right now, you'll see that it actually will convert to something that we see on the screen here. And I'll go back through here, and let me I'll just add a number of them to 1 so that you can see each one of the mouths move as as it kind of goes through each of these. So I hit play now, and if you watch the first one here, you can see as it transitions to the different mouths, you can see the different positions and the like. So, that's kind of a quick way that if you wanted to build a sequence manually, you could drag each one of these items on here individually, and make them the size that you want to make them, sync them to some music that you would load up here, and kind of go from there. If you've got like a 2 or 3 minute song that has a lot of vocals in it, I don't know if I would recommend this, because you're going to spend a lot of time dragging all these elements on here one by one. But we still need the ability to do that, so that's why it has been added there. Because what we're going to go over next is show how we can actually automate this whole process of creating these, and then after they're created, you can then kind of just come in and manually tweak them and add some that may be missing or whatnot. So anyway, from all of the work that we did in the last video, this is kind of where we're at right now, where we can actually see how we can drag elements on here and they display. So moving on, for anyone who's been working with lip syncing for a while in some of the other programs like Vixen 2 or HLS or anything else, they usually, I mean, a lot of people are familiar with a program called Papagayo. Um, Papagayo is a lip syncing animation program that we've used frequently um, to generate these type of phone me mouth movements that then we would use some other conversion program to convert to pull into whatever our sequencer of choice was. Now Papagayo, it allowed us to do this, but to be honest, the program has a lot of flaws in it. It's very buggy. It crashes frequently, and you have to really kind of work around a lot of its deficiencies, which kind of takes away from the value that it brings, because you end up spending a lot of time just working around its bugs. Like for example, a lot of times Papagayo, when you try to do longer than a 2 minute sequence, or I'm sorry, like if you try to do a 2 minute song all at once, it'll usually crash because of it's not able to handle that much data at once, and you end up having to take a song and break it into 10 or 15-second segments um, to use it. So it really kind of takes away from what would otherwise be a very good program. Needless to say, it's kind of the only quote game in town for doing a lot of these conversions, so a lot of us still use it. So, if you look up on the screen here, I have Papagayo, which I've used quite a bit with Vixen 2, but to kind of give you an idea of how it works, so I can go into Papagayo, and this is a song that I did in last year's sequence, which was called a sequence called "Real Men of Genius," and I'll load it up here to show you what it is. And so as you can see, what happens is you load in a song, and in this case it's a very small segment of a song because I had to break it up, and then you would come in and actually type the lyrics to the song, and then the lyrics would appear here, and then you would manually grab these lyrics and kind of map them to the actual lyrics in the WAV file itself. Now you could also generate multiple voices, so you could have, like in this case, I have a narrator and a singer, and the voices depend, or they kind of correspond to whoever's talking at the time. So you could have multiple of them, each with their different lyrics that occur different parts of the song. So so to kind of show you how this works is I've mapped this song out here, and what I'll do here is I'll play it and let you listen to it, and you'll kind of get the idea. Watch the mouth movement here and how a lot of it will line up to the phone me's that you see here. And if you notice that these names here match some of the names that we were seeing in Vixen 3 earlier.
Are these guys idiots, or could they be real men of genius? Real men of genius.
So that was a small segment that I had done there. Okay, so anyway, this one of the things I wanted to try to do with Vixen 3 is to really, there's a lot of this sequencing that has been done already, that people have done, that they don't want to repeat. That's me included. I have probably 15 or 20 minutes worth of songs that I've very painstakingly used this program to go through and make, and I didn't really want to lose that capability, lose that work that I had done. So what I did was in Vixen 3, I created an import function. So you can come here and you can select Papagayo import. And so what this will do is, like when you do this, it will ask you to go and find your original Papagayo song. So I just had this one called Real Men of Genius. These are the Papagayo files where I split the song up into 5 different sections. And so now I have it so that I can just go ahead and load this directly in. So what happens is when you go to import this, it's going to actually read it in, convert it, and then place all of the elements on the clipboard. So as you can see here, it is telling me that it imported 2 voices to the clipboard as separate rows, and row 1 in the sequence, when I paste it, will be the narrator, row 2 will be the singer. And if we go back to Papagayo, and you notice that there was a narrator and a singer, and so when we paste this, we should see this phone me list corresponding to this alignment here when we pop it in. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll click OK here, and I'll use my chipmunk's voices here, or my chipmunk elements, but I'll post them here just so that you can see it. So I'll do a paste, and so what it does now is it will go in and post each and every one of those phone me's at the proper timing into the sequence. And see, when you look at this, you can kind of see what I was talking about when you start sequencing the lip syncing manually, just using these. You're in for quite a bit of work and alignment and things like that. So this is one method of at least kind of alleviating some of that work. Where if you still want to use Papagayo, or you have some existing Papagayo sequences, you can do that. So I'll show you what this looks like now in Vixen, and we'll play it. Oh, I'm sorry, I guess I need to load the music in first. Okay, now let's go.
Are these guys idiots, or could they be real men of genius? Real men of genius.
Okay, so that's kind of where we're at with it now. So like if I take and I convert a Papagayo song, I would actually load in the whole song now versus the individual bits and pieces, and then manually go in and load all of the, what was once the 5 different files one at a time, and then paste them at the varying sections of the program. So this gives a way for us to not lose that work, and then import it into Vixen and save it, and now it's in the Vixen 3 format. Okay. So let me go now to, I'm going to create a new sequence now and go over our last new feature of Vixen 3. So I'll come in here. So far we've gone over the functionality and shown how to use the program manually and how to import existing Papagayo sequences. But one of the things I'd really like to do is, love or hate Papagayo, it'd be great just to get rid of it completely. So what I've done here is I've added some of the features of Papagayo natively inside of Vixen, so that these functions can be done inside of Vixen themselves. So one of the reasons people like Papagayo so much is that it has the ability to take raw lyrics and convert them into the actual mouth movements. That is one of the most tedious parts of doing any type of lip syncing, is actually trying to correspond the sound that you hear, the lyric that you hear, into what its mouth movements are. So I've added a new function called a text converter, which uses some publicly available dictionaries to create those mouth movements for you. So with this function, you can kind of come in, and I'll go over this a little bit later here, but you can actually come into it and type in some text, like say the word Christmas, and you can hit convert, and it will actually put the mouth movements on screen for you. Once these are on screen for you, you would then kind of do like you would if you were using Papagayo. You would take these mouth movements and align them to their proper places inside of the text. So by itself, this function will give you the mouth movements, but we'll get into a little bit more. I've added a little bit more functionality to make even this a little bit easier to use. But like in this case here, the word kind of Christmas is put out here, but the spacing isn't quite right on it. So what I'm going to do next is, in the next video, is walk through the creation of where we take a song and go through and map, kind of create the song, create the lyrics to the song using the text converter, and showing what the kind of the results of it are on the screen.